Welcome to the Martin Luther King City Government Center in Harrisburg. My name is Nancy Mendes. I'm one of your hosts, and this is...
And my name is Jeb Stewart, working with Nancy Mendes in coordinating displays and installations in the City Government Center.
That's right, and you may have noticed, or if you've been to City Hall, or even if you haven't, please come down and check it out. Things have changed. We're trying to make it a little bit more visitor-friendly, and we have a few new exhibits, and we're going to be changing exhibits as time goes on, so come often and stay and see what you can learn. The reaction to this particular exhibit has been very good.
It has been, Nancy, and obviously many changes have taken place in the atrium, and one of which is this lovely exhibit here to our left, which I believe came from the Dauphin County Historical Society.
That's right, that's right. I was there in December, and they had an exhibit of all the toys. I don't know if it was all the toys, but many of the toys in their collection from very early in time throughout history to the present. And it was just a lot of fun. And everybody who went to it could find something to relate to. An exhibit about toys may be for children, but we were all children once.
Yes.
And so, you know, everybody finds something to like. Everybody has questions about it. They range in time from the mid-1750s to about 1975 or so. And we can talk about some of the individual
things. Yeah, please do, Nancy.
Things.
This is really cool the way this has been laid out. And obviously we have a host of different toys here and of different applications and periods. Would you like to at least share some of this with us?
Sure.
Starting with wherever you would like.
Well, we can start here, because this is the top shelf here anyway is more recent. Has anybody not seen a child with a computer game?
Not at this point.
Well, I'm not sure that many children today, my grandchildren included, would recognize this as a computer game. They have this big screen, flat screen TV, they have these things that they hold. But this is one of the early things, an Atari. And I do remember with my son watching him play Frogger and Pac-Man and things like that, and it actually was a lot of fun. So, you know, in this thing, I wouldn't know exactly what to do with it, but it's part of our history, and it led
Very much so.
Led to the way things are right now.
Yeah.
Here's a record player. Now this is something that's actually coming back into vogue now. People are appreciating what it was at one time. You could play 45s. It only has a spindle there, but they had those little clippy things that you'd put in your 45 that you could play on something like this. This is probably the early 1960s for this, and there's an on and off switch. And obviously it has this children's decal, so it was for a child's room.
Yes.
And this is obviously a child's bed. And you know what children's toys do is they mimic adult life and in a way teach children how to behave as adults, how to take care of children, how to be nurturing. And they might see themselves in a bed. They might see themselves putting a doll to bed, the way their parents put them to bed. And this is one of the 1700s toys.
Now over here, I think we see some sports memorabilia
Yes.
that you might want to talk a little bit more about.
Well, this is interesting because catchers still wear masks like that. They still use gloves, yet these gloves are very different from what people use now. You know,
they look it, to say the least.
Times have changed, but I guess you can't improve on the equipment too much. You know, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Moving on, we see, it looks like, some vehicles of different periods, one way or the other.
Yes. Here's a child's train. Most of us have seen train sets. You can go to different places and at Christmas time see exhibits of trains, you know, at Fort Hunter. And there are a lot of people who are into trains. But here's an example, and I don't know what period this is from. This is metal, probably early 1900s, I would think. And the wheels are kind of different from the train sets that you see. But these are things that mimic what is in a child's environment. transportation things.
Sure.
There's the Shuey's pretzel wagon.
Oh, the covered wagon is really cool.
That's my particular favorite,
Yeah,
because
I
I
can
used to
understand.
watch Wagon Train when I was a kid.
As did I.
And that really stirred my imagination. And there's an Amish buggy, and we still see some of those around Lancaster County.
Very much
And then there's the football paraphernalia. And I think the helmets, you know, they're still wearing helmets. They've changed in how they appear, but helmets are still there. The football hasn't really changed.
Right.
And over here, this is the earliest period of the toys. Here is probably a Davy Crockett or Daniel Boone. Daniel Boone was a Pennsylvania resident. Did you know that?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Berks County, I believe.
And this other guy in the colonial garb, I don't know who he is, but I just call him John Harris. And there's a George Washington toy. It's jointed. He's missing a little part of his left foot, but you can move him. You can move his joints and give him some kind of action. And we have this doll, probably in the 1800s. Very elaborate dress, very elaborate hair. One thing that I learned about dolls was when they were made, they would dress them in the latest fashions. And the parents of the kids that got the doll would copy that as the latest fashion and make their clothes align with what the dolls were wearing. So it was a way to get an idea and copy a pattern, maybe upscale it so that it would fit the adults.
Sure.
And that was that's one of the functions that dolls played in our history.
Well, considering its age, it seems to be in very good condition,
Yes, it is.
which is something special. So,
All of these things were donated to the Historical Society of Dauphin County from people in Dauphin County for their collection. There were things that people understood how important they were in history, and they gave them to the Historical Society for safekeeping. And the Historical Society's done a wonderful job with
they
it.
have, without question. So moving on, Nancy,
Yes.
we see that over here we have another cabinet that kind of
Yes.
completes the overall display,
Yes.
or exhibit, I should say. And what do we have here? It looks like a dollhouse of some format.
Yes, this is a dollhouse. And what girl doesn't love to have a dollhouse? And probably some boys too who wouldn't necessarily admit to that. But this is obviously a homemade dollhouse, which is how they came to be. And with various rooms. The furniture doesn't necessarily match the period, but all these things, again, were left to the Dauphin County Historical Society. It has lots of rooms. It sparks the imagination of young girls. The stairway goes up to the attic, and then there's a stairway that comes down to the first floor, and here are these different rooms. There's a bathroom in this house, so it's somewhat modern. I like this room. This is obviously a den. You see the little books there? That's fun. And there's a den and a bedroom and a bathroom upstairs as well. Here's a sled. Wouldn't you have liked to have one of those this winter?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And the skates. And did you know that people used to ice skate on Market Square?
When it was
In the
a
very
swamp.
early days?
Yep,
Yes,
in
it
the 18th
used-
century.
Yeah, it was a swamp. Tell us more about that.
Well, it was, and then of course the square developed in the early 19th century and was filled in. At that point, the market houses were built in the center of the square, and for obvious reasons, that's lo and behold Market Square. And those market houses existed until 1889, and they were taken down for a number of reasons: traffic circulation, the city continued to grow, and obviously we have what we have today. But
So that was the end of ice skating on Market Square.
that was the end, at least on Market Square, right? And that really dates to the early period of the town when it was still a borough, and really dates to the late 18th century. Beginning in the 19th century, Market Square started to develop as an urban center, and that, of course, became filled in. But still, it's an interesting thing to know about, to say the
Yeah,
least.
I mean, it's hard for us to imagine watching all the traffic go by on Market Square right now that people used to ice skate
Right,
here.
exactly. So Nancy, this is a wonderful exhibit, obviously, and for folks that may be interested, how much longer do you anticipate the exhibit being up?
Well, you know, it's not going to be here for very much longer, so if you want to come and see it, better get here soon. We're going to be doing the next exhibit, which is about firemen and public works workers, police and firemen. And so the exhibit is going to involve hats, parade hats, you know, from the firemen's celebrations. And I find that, you know, these great strong men who go and fight fires really got into their celebrations, and the hats are wonderful. We're borrowing them from the Fire Museum, the Pennsylvania Fire Museum, and that's going to be a great exhibit.
Oh, I'm sure it will be, and having those items here, because they have a wonderful collection at the Pennsylvania National Fire Museum, to have that here downtown in City Hall will be a great piece for folks to see.
Yes.
So we do look forward to that, to say the least.
Yes. This is an interesting collection of people. Can you tell us what this is about?
This series is entitled the Harrisburg Living Legacies series, and it was developed in 2010. At the time, the city was celebrating its 150th anniversary as being incorporated as a city, which it was in 1860. Although the city, of course, predated that as a borough when it was incorporated in 1785. So the city, or the Harrisburg as we know it, is much older than 1860. But the sesquicentennial of 2010 was to celebrate its incorporation as a city in 1860. With that said, there was a museum, and Nancy, of course, you were involved with this too, very much so.
Yes.
On Market Street in the old Dauphin Deposit Bank building, which was built in the 1830s.
It was called the 2010 History Center.
Which is called the 2010 History Center. And M&T Bank graciously donated the former Dauphin Deposit Bank building to the Sesquicentennial Commission for use as a history center throughout the year of 2010 and into early 2011. And you, of course, Nancy, were directly involved in laying out these panels and many other aspects of that museum in terms of other displays and exhibits that you did, which were absolutely marvelous.
Thank you.
What the Living Legacy was a selection of 150 individuals in Harrisburg, and the 150 tied, of course, to the 150th anniversary.
Yes.
150 individuals in Harrisburg who were leaders in the community, one way or the other, and contributing to Harrisburg's health and welfare over the years. And what we have is a collection of many different individuals coming from business, religion, the media, and government, and other sources. And what we have is a brief description of each individual, and as you can see, it continues on through these exhibit panels in the atrium of the City Government Center. For those that might be interested in learning more about these individuals, they can view the actual interviews that were done on the website. They can either Google Harrisburg Living Legacies or go to harrisburg150.com. Each one of these individuals were interviewed at the city's TV station of WHBG, and those interviews are captured on the internet and can be viewed. So this exhibit we wanted to have up initially, starting in January, and it will be up a little bit longer, and then will be replaced by an exhibit featuring buildings and streetscapes of downtown Harrisburg from a historical standpoint. So they will be historic photographs capturing the city in the late 19th, early 20th century period. So we're looking forward, of course, to having that exhibit installed.
Yes.
And again, will be a wonderful addition, we feel, to the atrium that the general public should be likewise interested to see.
I always enjoy seeing pictures of the city as it once was, because we have come a long way, but it's also so interesting to see how much life there was through the years.
Oh yes.
How busy everything was on a day-to-day basis.
Very much so, and of course, then the city was it. The suburbia really didn't exist, and the city's population peaked at around 79,000. No, I think it was 89,000, somewhere in that range around 1950. And you can just imagine the energy that existed in the city with that kind of population and with minimal suburban growth. So yes, the synergy and the activity clearly were centered here. Thank you very much for joining us on this tour of the exhibits that are on display in the City Government Center.
We hope that you'll come over, visit the exhibits, and enjoy yourself. The exhibits will be changing from time to time. Please come often.